Share the screen. Okay. Hopefully you can all see my screen, but if you are finding yourself at this video, we're going to talk to you today about the RSE curriculum and all about what we're going to be covering within year one. Okay. So the reasons for the change that has kind of happened over the years is that the government had recognised that there's a growing need for all children across the country to have an improved quality of education when it comes to health, relationships and sex. And this has now been established with the statutory changes to the curriculum, which all schools must teach. The next few slides that we're going to show you is going to show what is now part of the curriculum, and there's a couple of articles on here about why the reasons for change are there and why we are teaching the RSE curriculum. So the current curriculum that we've got the majority of the mandatory sex education teaching falls within the science curriculum, where in year 2 they learn about animals including humans and how they have offspring into adults, and then again in year 5 when they're taught about life cycles of humans and animals, and they learn about the changes that happen there. Under the national curriculum, the basics of sex education, like I said, fall within science. But in addition to the national curriculum, the Department of Education have published a sex and relationships guidance in 2000, which, although it isn't statutory, schools must take into consideration, and primary schools should have an RSE programme tailored to the age and the maturity of children. So that's what we're going to be having a little look at over the next couple of slides.
Yeah. So the new statutory guidance can be broken down into 2 key areas, mainly relationship education and health education. PSHE, which we do at the moment, will further be brought in line with modern needs through the documents that's been, I think it's shared there. Oh yeah. This document reflects the needs of current society and updates to the curriculum to make it more meaningful for children, more relatable to them. And this is the first update in around 10 years or so. So following our primary health education, it all just involves learning about mental well-being, how to be safe on the internet and what harms we could come across on the internet, physical health and fitness, healthy eating, drugs, alcohol and tobacco, health and prevention, basic first aid, basically changing adolescent bodies that's related to the children's age group.
So lots of the question comes up in here because it's relationships and sex education. Lots of people sort of say, so what about the sex education? So there's a quote on here that says the relationships education, RSE and health education regulations 2019 have made relationships education compulsory in all primary schools from September 2019. Sex education is not compulsory in primary schools, and the content set out in this guidance therefore focuses mainly on the relationship side of things as opposed to the sex side of things. However, the department does recognise and recommends that all primary schools should have a sex education programme tailored, again, like we were saying, to the age and the maturity of the pupils. Obviously, because we're in year 1, ours is going to be mainly looking at relationship side of things and families, and we'll come on to the different lessons later. But it's just making sure that ensuring that both boys and girls are prepared for the changes that might come with their bodies, thinking about drawing on all their science knowledge and the human life cycle that's already set out in the national curriculum. How a baby is conceived and born, teaching methods need to take account of the developmental differences of children.
So we follow a specific program, which is called the Christopher Winter Project. And it basically includes all the appropriate content from reception all the way up to year 6, which means that children have got a gradual introduction to the topics across the different age groups. And it's also made specifically for those age groups, so it's content relevant.
So within year one, we have 3 RSE lessons that we are going to follow. And what we're going to do now is just talk you through what the different lessons look like. So just as parents and carers, you're aware at home what content your children are going to be having. So the learning intention for the first lesson is to know how to keep clean and look after oneself. So within that, we're going to be exploring different feelings, which we do all year anyway. We're going to learn about morning routines and what we can do on our own, promoting that independence, and then thinking about what we might need some help with. And we're also going to be showing the children different objects that they would use to clean themselves with. And just on the next slide, here are the pictures that we are going to be showing them within their RSE lessons, just so you've got a bit of an idea about what we're going to be showing them. So all of the sort of basic bathroom items you might find at home.
The next lesson would be to introduce the concept of growing and changing. Basically, children will be learning that babies become children and then children become adults, so that gradual increase there. Children will be able to recognize the difference between boy and girl babies. Children will explore their feelings during the session, so there's a lot of reflection time too, and for children to be able to ask the questions that they need to ask, and then children will then learn about growing up. So what we will be sharing is an image that would be introduced to the children in an appropriate way, with a discussion using the vocabulary such as male, female, private parts, penis, and vagina. And then further on with that, we'd be looking at the differences in growth and, you know, being able to identify children and being able to identify maybe elderly people, the difference between, the difference between that.
And then once we've done that, moving on to lesson 3, where we're going to be exploring different types of families and who to ask for help as well. And the children are going to be exploring who they can come to for help when they're hurt, and exploring different types of families, whether people have got a mum and a dad and a brother, whether they've got 2 dads, whether they've got 1 mum, whether they live with auntie, whatever it might be, and celebrating all the different types of families that we may have within our class and our community as well. And again, these are the sorts of photos that we're going to be showing them. So you've got here a real range of types of families that they can explore. Obviously, we're virtual, so you can't ask us any questions right now. But if you do have any questions following this, or want a little bit more clarity on anything, please feel free to come into school. We're generally on the doors in the mornings after school. If you've got a question, please feel free to ask. We're happy to answer everything that we can.
And even email through if there's anything that you need clarification on too.
But that is all from us. So if I stop sharing that, thank you very much.